All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. It's a rainy day here in Chicago, which is like the perfect time to be making some loot. I am Spencer Campbell of Gila RPGs. I am the creator of a few different RPGs, and the one that we're talking about today is Loot, a fantasy RPG inspired by looter shooters that's up on Kickstarter right now. I have the fantastic Ethan Yen here joining me. Um, Ethan, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit to folks, and then we'll talk about what we're going to be making today?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Spencer. I will say that's the first time anyone has added the word fantastic in front of an introduction of myself. So thank you very much. Yeah, hello everyone. I am Ethan Yen. I am a tabletop game designer. Uh, I'm also based in the Midwest, similar to Spencer. I do both freelance work and indie game design work. So I've freelanced for various publishers, including like Ghostfire, Evil Hat, Hit Point Press, Wedding Games. And then I also make my own stuff. I'm probably most well known for co-creating the solo journaling game Fetch My Blade, which is,
Yes, I love it.
yeah. Spencer got to see one of my very early drafts of that game. And it's basically about your dog of a retired legendary master of the sword sent on a literal fetch quest to get your master's fabled blade before they start their final duel. So
It's
if
such
that
a
seems
good
like,
idea.
yeah, if that's up your alley, I highly recommend trying it out. But yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to sit down and do something like this with you, because we've talked in the past, and like we see each other at cons and stuff. But kind of like when I was talking with Mark a few days ago, like when I see people at cons, it's always so chaotic because I'm at the booth or they're between events, and it's like, hi, how's it going? Okay, quick, okay, bye. I'll see you later. So it's nice to actually just sit down and like not be surrounded by tens of thousands of people and just like chill and talk about games. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
100%. Like you said, a rainy Sunday is the perfect time to just chill and talk about games.
Yeah, so we're gonna be making some loot for the game Loot, and how these guest streams work for folks who haven't caught one before is that I asked the guest to come up with a topic, like maybe a game that they really like, maybe a piece of media that they really enjoy, or just something that like they're passionate about. Um, and we will then make loot based off of that thing. We've had some fun stuff so far. So Mark came on and was doing like really interested in like urban gardening. So we ended up making these druid builders, which was fun.
Awesome.
Binary Star came on and we made stuff based off of the Stalker video game series, which was the first time I had like really I didn't like was aware of the series, but so Binary gave me the deep dive, which was nice.
Hmm.
Today's the first time that we have a topic that I am actually familiar with, which
Oh, thank goodness.
I'm excited about. Um, let's introduce the topic. I see Nathan from Reckless Attack here. Good to see you, Nathan. Um, let's put the topic here on the screen here. We are doing Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, you did have one other topic that you had proposed before this.
I did.
What was
Yeah.
that topic again?
Yeah, we'll touch on it as a tease, and hopefully
Yeah.
this the what I had originally pitched to Spencer was to do loot based on the hit childhood TV series Bluey.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, it's a very popular television show for those with kids, and I think it's definitely still worth watching for those without. So that
This is
was
what I
that was my
hear.
first pitch, but I felt like this may be a little too outside of our target audience to really relate to at the moment. So
Yeah.
I went with my second option here, which is also equally as pivotal to me. Um, I'd say Bluey is pivotal to me right now in my current time in life, but
Okay.
Avatar is definitely uh, a pivotal piece of media when I was younger that
That's
really got
awesome.
me down this like what can fantasy be
Mm.
kind of question, you know?
Yeah. I'm excited to, yeah, I think that's sort of where we should start is just kind of talking about like like when you saw or when we saw Avatar and stuff like that, because I think that'll help us get into like the general vibes and themes that we want to kind of focus on. But
Totally.
I do agree with Nathan in chat that says it sounds like there's a need for a sequel appearance just for this wholesome loot from Bluey.
Yes.
Um, so when did you like where were you in life when you first saw Avatar?
Yeah, I don't want to date myself, but I was fairly young when I started watching Avatar. I don't even know what date it was, but it was one of those things where I didn't have access to cable, so Avatar was on Nickelodeon, um, and I hadn't been exposed to it since it like first started. And it
Okay.
was one of those things where I was at the library, support your local libraries,
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And my brother and I, we saw a DVD of, it wasn't even the first episode. It was like season 3, random like disc 2 or something. And we were
Yeah.
like, that looks amazing. You know, we didn't see a lot of like obviously East Asian inspired cartoon media at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was amazing. And then also my parents latched on to it immediately too, because they were like, whoa, what is this? Like, let's definitely watch it. And so we actually watched the first disc as a family. Like
Oh,
we sat
cool.
down and watched it because my parents were just as curious about watching it. And that was probably like the first, that disc probably had one of some like obviously all the episodes, most of them are very good. But that disc, I believe, I remember clearly it had like the Firebending Masters episode with
Okay.
Zuko and Aang, where they find like the dragons and they learn the true meaning of firebending. But that's a very like that's not your typical children's show, A.
No.
And then B, it's like visually stunning,
Yeah,
you know. And so that like I was hooked immediately from there, and then we just checked out every single disc from the library since then. I actually now own the entire set on DVD at home now. So, yeah, that was when I first was exposed to it, and I've been a fan ever since. That's for
that's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it when I was in grad school. So I caught it like later in my life. I had heard from a bunch of friends about this show, and it had finally made its way to some sort of streaming service. I think by that point that I was able to like binge watch the whole thing. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I watched the first season on DVD and then like found the rest of them on streaming or some way of finding it online
Yeah. Yeah.
to watch the rest. Because my cousin who I was living with at the time worked at Barnes and Noble, so he had like he was bringing home DVDs of TV shows and movies all the time. So he
Mhm.
was like, "You got to check this out." And I remember watching it, absorbing the entire thing like in one day, essentially, and then like, okay, I have to go find the rest of this.
Yeah.
Uh,
I highly recommend experiencing it on the DVD media if you have access to it. Next time I see you, I'll gladly let you borrow it, Spencer. But you get the thing that we don't get anymore with streaming is you get behind the scenes
yeah.
content, which was like great because they'd do little backgrounds on like the animation, that whole process, but also like the world building as well and how like each of the nations' martial arts are based on real world
Mm-hmm.
East Asian martial arts, right? And that was like one of the motivations for me actually when I went to university was like I was so into waterbending that I joined like the university wushu club, which is Chinese martial arts, it's contemporary martial arts, and I learned like Tai Chi
That's
during
awesome.
during my years at university. So it definitely was a motivating factor for a lot of things that I do.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it feels so appropriate then for us to be talking about that for this collection of loot or this, this at
yeah,
least some ideas for some loot. Um, so I guess like I don't know. I feel like I want to say that most folks watching this will be familiar with Avatar, but like
I
what
hope
are
so.
like if we needed to like distill it down to like some general vibes or themes, and like this could
Mhm.
also just be like vibes and themes that we want to focus on for the loot, because there's a shit ton of stuff to talk about in Avatar. So
Yeah.
bringing it down to a couple of bullet points might be hard, but like what are some themes of Avatar that you want to hit in particular with some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today?
Sure, yeah. I mean, so there's always I shouldn't say surface level, but there's the first degree past Avatar, and it's a world based on the four classical elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fire, air, earth, and water.
Right.
And that would be the go-to of any kind of loot would be centering around that. But that seems a little, too obvious in that regard. But then there's also, we can talk about like narrative themes. There's a strong component of like, friendship and bonding and like teamwork, right? It's a lot of like
Yeah.
it's not like an explicit theme, but there's a lot of like combo work and things that they
Mm.
do that I think is really cool. And like all their combat scenes, there's always like a new way or new spin they do on what we know about their martial prowess. But then also it's always great when you see a team up
Yeah.
and see what they can do together. So that's a cool thing. Other themes, there's like I don't I'm thinking like you know family is a big one,
Mm-hmm.
but like there's all these like common YA classic hero's journey themes, right? Like
Right.
responsibility. um Zuko's very big on honor and exactly what that means,
Sure.
that kind of thing. But like I think like mechanically speaking, there's the teamwork aspect, and then I think maybe what we could do for loot too is spin it so like uh we can glom onto the little like equipment that everyone wears, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
make that emblematic of their element, not so much as like,
Mm-hmm.
in loot, your weapons can be spells, and spells could easily be, like bending styles or something, like a water
Right.
whip or something like that. Um, but then like associating certain key items or equipment of characters to certain elements. For instance, like Toph wears bracers, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And she's an earthbender, so like making bracers that can manipulate the terrain or something would be kind of
Right.
cool. Or like what I had pitched to you earlier too was like Iroh is a master firebender, but is also obsessed with tea.
Yeah.
So like a fire breathing tea kettle or something like that, like
Yes.
associating different things. Uh, I mean, like I don't know if we've done a loot with like Jet's classic twin hook swords. That'd be kind of cool. Something that could extend your
Yeah.
range momentarily. That'd be a kind of neat thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of just immediately going into brainstorming loot
Well,
ideas right now,
let's
but
do it. I mean,
it's
let's.
hard to think of like what the general vibes and themes. There's a lot, but also like how do we translate that into like
Yeah.
making loot, right? Um,
Well, I
I'm
think
curious what you think too. I want to know what you think the vibes and themes are.
absolutely you hit on like the major themes that are probably the ones that we can like nail in terms of like mechanically linking to a game like this in terms
Hmm.
of like teamwork elements, so like loot that somehow can combo with other loot and or like has a direct interaction with one type of loot,
Yes.
is a really fascinating idea that's not really explored in the core game, but like having something that explicitly does that would be very very cool. And then I was thinking exactly like you were thinking, like, yeah, I guess we could just make like a bunch of spells effectively that are all like the different ways we could imagine bending. But I
Hmm.
like this idea instead of like, okay, instead of it just being we're also just benders and we're fantasy adventurers, but instead we're like we have these tools that make us appear as if we are benders because we have these very
All
specific,
right.
like, we have the staff, the glider staff, that like, we have some sort of like, okay, we have some form of control of air. I'm not an air bender, but I have this thing that lets me do it. But I could also
Right.
have the magic kettle, so I could be I could
You could
kind
be
of
both.
dual
You could be
wield
the
those
avatar
things.
if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I like we're talking now, and I'm thinking like, they're all martial arts
Mm.
based fighting, right? And martial arts isn't just combat; it's also, the introspective philosophy. It's like how you live your life. So, combining, those loot items with how like triggered off of your certain stats, right? Force, flow, and focus could be
Yeah.
neat, right? Like, I don't know exactly how we would do that, but not we like tying. It'd be neat, like maybe charged abilities, like you do damage equal to those stats or something, or like
Mm-hmm.
using those stats can change, or using those loot can change how you move around those stat bonuses or something like that, kind of to reflect the
Yeah.
more internal aspect of the martial art.
Absolutely.
Pretty neat too.
And
Yeah.
like even in the non-combat sort of loot, there's examples of stuff that like magic items and clothing and stuff like that that will give you a bonus, but only if you have a certain amount of an approach or left or something like that. And so
Right.
we can
Yeah.
kind of encourage players to like have to either like lean towards certain approaches and or balance out your, keep yourself in, relatively balanced if you want to gain this cool advantage, or like you got to lean into being all in on flow right now if you want
Right.
to get this thing.
Yeah.
um is a
Yeah.
cool
I
place to
think that'd
sit.
be great. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, I mean, so when we usually do this, we think about sort of the four categories of loot. There's the weapons that you use in combat, magic items that are can be used in combat, but also could be totally just narrative things that you have. So like
Hmm.
you just have a like an amulet that lets you climb on walls, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not directly related to combat. It's just a thing I can do, or I can see ghosts.
Yeah.
Um, Clothing, which is where we get like a lot of our stats, like we get boosts to our stats. So this is where we can kind of emphasize some of those things that you were mentioning of like wearing certain types of clothing, leaning you towards a certain sort of play style could maybe work. And then consumables are consumables. They're just your little one and done, have a fun thing.
Yeah.
Um, where should we start? Weapons, magic items, clothing, or
Oh
consumables?
boy. I think weapons is the easiest to go
Sure.
to, so we can certainly knock some out
Yeah.
there.
I mean, let's get the fire tea kettle on the page here. Absolutely right away.
Yeah. Yes. A fire-breathing tea
A
kettle.
fire breathing tea kettle is just like such a fun idea. Um, so are we imagining this thing is something that like effectively acts like a flamethrower? So you like
That's what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
and so it's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
big cone effect or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
give
like
it some long range.
yeah, big cone effect. It's an AOE sort of hit. So not like popping out fireballs,
No,
but
no,
it's
you
like
got it. Yeah. If you think of like Iroh after he drinks his tea and then he like gives that giant dragon
yeah,
breath of fire, that's what I'm thinking.
okay,
But
yeah, I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That feels like something definitely is like a sort of charged weapon too, because like you can't just be constantly spouting like
Yeah.
you gotta brew the tea, you gotta get the
Hmm.
kettle
Hmm.
hot and ready
Yeah,
to go, and
exactly.
so
Yeah. It could
perfect.
be one of those classic fireball mechanics where like the longer you keep it brewing, the bigger the blast,
Ooh,
right?
oh
So then
man, some
it
sort
is
of
it's a
brew
one and
mechanic.
done. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a one and done, but you gotta like if you really want a big effect, you gotta keep it there for a while.
Oh, a brew mechanic is really clever. So like somehow you can charge this up, uh, increasing the blast, but the kettle is spent afterward or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, are you gonna really boil that boil and boil and let it get hot? Or are
Yeah.
you just gonna have like a little warm,
Yeah, and
tea?
I'm sure tea connoisseurs would be all over
Oh,
this. I mean, like
sure.
there is an optimal amount of time to
Right.
brew this tea. You can't let it go too hot.
You have to
Oh,
hit the right temperature and the right
yeah,
amount. No,
yeah,
no, no. This is about blasting that tea with as much direct heat as you can.
exactly. Yeah,
Um, awesome. I love that. So we have a fire breathing tea kettle for sure on the list.
yeah.
Um, okay, some other
Well,
loop.
let's knock out the elements first.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
think that's
let's
a great
get
way to
the
do
air
it.
gliding staff on there.
Cool.
That's the classic.
We have the air gliding staff, which can like function.
Yes, I think it's like a staff, right? Your
Yeah, right.
standard like probably like range one, harm one kind of thing.
Right. Has
Um,
a real basic
yeah.
range one, harm one effect.
And
But
then yeah, I think then you get that charged effect where you fly, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and I think that that really just gets you where you need to go. We don't need to get any more complicated
yeah.
than that, I
Glide a
think. Yeah.
distance, move to some new space of the
Yeah.
grid, right? So you can just be
Yeah.
like, I'm out of here
Yep.
when you take off. I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly. Yep.
Um
All right, we
Perfect.
got fire, air. Let's see. Water. I haven't thought of a water one yet.
I can't
Um,
think of like I'm struggling to think of like a an obvious relic from the show that like connects to water so much,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
maybe it
same.
has been a little while since I've seen the show, but
There's
like
the waterbending scroll,
okay,
and so that kind of gets you to more of the spell effects, which we could
which
do, but
spells are one of those things that can be written up as weapons. Like I have
right.
spells treated as weapons in the game. Like magic missile is considered technically a weapon, even though it's not a
Hmm.
magic item, just
Okay,
because it is
sure,
like overtly designed for combat, and like it is not to be interpreted to be used for anything other than combat.
sure, sure.
So we could put like a water bending scroll here if it is like this is always meant to be a combat practiced scroll of
Right,
sorts.
right, yeah. Um, yeah, I can't think of any other water-based relics in the game.
I think we could
Um,
put a water bending scroll down for now.
yeah, we could. Well, one of the classic ones for waterbending I think of, and this is also me because I'm in a Avatar Legends
Oh, okay.
campaign right
You're in
now.
one right
So
now. Okay, that
and
helps a lot.
surprise, surprise, I'm playing a waterbender. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the octopus form that you see in the TV show as
Uh,
well. I think Katara uses
yeah,
that's like to fight multiple enemies
yeah,
kind of thing. So I think that'd be kind of cool if we use that as like maybe if you use this weapon kind of thing, you can hit everyone around you kind of thing. Um, or we can play with the push and pull effect of,
yeah. I
tentacles
think
or
pushing and
something.
pulling is
Yeah.
another one of those things, right? Like
Yeah.
like the control, like it's such a
Yeah.
control element, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, it's very
it's
much a control element. Yeah.
uh, you're not like blasting fools with your fire kettle, but
Yeah.
you're literally changing the flow of
Yeah,
the
you are
fight.
like, I can redirect an attack this way to someone who's also adjacent to me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, yeah, yeah, I really like that idea. This push and pull control effect.
Absolutely. I feel like having something about I'm just gonna put it in the magic items for now, but like something that's about redirecting damage in terms of
Hmm.
like water just feels like a thing that would be very cool to have at some
Yeah,
point.
agreed.
Cool. So we can kind of like generally push and pull people with this, and then you can also engage like octopus form and be like, and now I also can like move everybody within range two of me or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
I think that'd be
go
pretty cool.
big.
Yes.
That rocks.
All right.
And now we need Earth.
Earth. Yeah. I had mentioned like toss
Yeah,
bracers.
right.
Um, Another way we could do this is Toph is famously barefoot, but
Hmm.
we could do some kind of sandals or boots that give you that like tremor sensibility.
That's cool too.
That lets you manipulate the battlefield as well.
Yeah,
That
so I
really.
guess that's maybe what we should think about with Earth is like, what do we want the Earth weapon to be doing for us?
Hmm.
Is it like we're hurling boulders at people, or is it like you were sort of saying, like it's a manipulation of the battlefield? Like, are we busting out
Yeah.
like terrain sort of
Well,
thing?
I would think it's like, why not both?
Yeah,
Punch in
yeah,
those
sure.
shows, right? So as in like I feel like we could start it with the boots in that like it could be a defensive ability. Like think of them when they kick the ground and like that rock
Right.
boulder comes up and you can like use it as a shield. But then maybe it's a charged ability or something. You can move that thing and like hurl it at someone, right? So then that gives you that classic like I kick the ground, comes up the boulder, I block something, and then next turn if I want, I can punch the boulder and have it fly at
Yes.
someone,
So you can
right?
summon a
Um,
boulder to sort of create a like a barrier to block or prevent enemy movement, and then you can also then like throw slash punch the
Punch it at
boulder
someone, right?
at someone is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
the
so
the ultimate one too against an enemy, right? Like not only did I block your attack, but
but
now
here
what I
comes a
used to block
boulder.
it, I'm gonna throw it at
Yeah.
you now. Yes.
That's awesome. This is really I mean these are great. This is I think a perfect representation of sort of what these like bending things are capable of. We have
Yeah.
like you're clearly here to hurt. You're clearly here to be like you're dancing around. You're hard to hit sort of thing. Control and then like the ground slam
Yes.
is perfectly represented there. All right, I feel like we nailed it.
All
Nailed
right.
it with
Yeah.
weapons so far.
Perfect. We got the weapons.
Now, magic items is a little bit more free form in terms of this. So, like, magic items can be something as simple as just giving you a boost to some stats. Like, you have something and it just gives you more health or gives you more force or whatever, just because
Mhm.
it's passively empowering you.
Sure.
They can also be charged items, so like they function kind of like spells, but they don't necessarily have to be about doing harm. They could be about doing weird things like rewinding time, like
Hmm.
undoing an enemy's turn, sort of
Okay.
charged
Perfect.
effect.
Yeah.
um or they could be purely narrative based, like
Hmm.
they might lean themselves more as something that helps a lot in the exploration and social side of the game. So like you can always you can never be ambushed if you're wearing this, or you can climb on walls like a spider or things
Okay.
like that,
Perfect.
which those can you can technically interpret how it might be used in combat, but they're not mechanically written to be like a mechanic or a combat focused piece of equipment. so
Sure.
so we have a lot of free space to play is what I'm saying when
Yeah.
we're talking about magic items here, and this is the opportunity then to sort of maybe capture some of the other vibes of bending that don't always hit the
The combat.
combat side,
Yeah.
or are
I
like really really powerful, and we're like, we shouldn't make this a regular weapon. It should be like a charged
yeah.
only magic item sort of thing, like blood bending or something.
Right. I mean, this is the fun one. For me, this is the fun one, right? This
Yeah.
you could do whatever here
Yeah.
narratively. I think what we should do, what we could consider is like an item that lets you do an pseudo avatar state where you can connect to your ancestors kind of thing and
Ooh.
like get wisdom from past lives kind of thing.
Oh my
What
god, that's so
what
good.
what kind of relic that would be? I don't know. Um, but
Yeah, like what would it look like? So, I mean, what would an avatar? Yeah, what does it look like to be able to just like summon or like bring yourself into a space where you can speak with
yeah, it's a
people in the
very like
past?
meditative thing, so I don't know.
Could it be like, yeah, so if it is a meditative practice, could it be in like linked to some sort of like a chime or a bell that helps you get into like a meditative state, or
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, or like incense or something like
yeah,
yeah,
right, and like
yeah, a
once per
candle.
yeah, like once
Yeah,
per
like
day
maybe
you
just a
can
candle. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I think this is common. Like a candle, you light it, and as
yeah,
long as it's lit, like that's how long you have to talk to someone.
that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. You
yeah,
light the
it's
candle and you can talk with
your
the
past
ancestors of your
lives.
past lives.
Yep.
But like this candle is probably also like slowly diminishing like every time you use
Yeah,
it. So
yeah,
like
you
you
can't
have
use it
to
forever.
right, you
Yeah.
have to be careful about like, okay, I've talked to the ancestors a lot. I got I gotta make sure
Yeah.
the next time is like really important for
Yep.
me.
Yeah. Can't
That's
use it on
awesome.
tomorrow's math test. I gotta stop.
Well, unless that math test is really,
Yeah.
really important. That's awesome.
Okay.
Cool. So absolutely some sort of avatar state, going back and talking to past lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did see you mention in, I think like the pitch that you had sent me
Yeah.
in
What did I
Discord.
send?
I'm trying to recall the things that you, because you had a few ideas. Uh, ba, 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 ba. Where was it? I feel like I saw some things that you had specifically shouted out.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring it up in our chat.
Oh yeah, okay. Ice boomerangs. We have the bracers, tea kettle, cabbages that act like caltrops. I knew there was
Yes.
something about cabbages that you had
Yes.
written down
Yeah.
somewhere.
We needed cabbages somewhere.
Right.
I don't know if they have to be literal cabbages. They could be tiny cabbages that get bigger on impact or something,
They
but
could.
it's a very yeah, I yeah,
I,
I'm all for it. I don't I like maybe they start as seeds that can become I don't know, like
yeah, I'm wondering
uh,
like, is this a magic item, or like the cabbages could be a consumable? Like you find these like dangerous cabbages sometimes when you're scrounging around. You're like, we could use this.
yeah, like this has staying power.
Yeah,
This will keep showing up.
I think I like the idea. Yeah, that's the thing about consumables is that they keep like you use them in loot and then they get discarded and just put right back into the
Back in the
consumable
loot pile.
pool. Right.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Or the
it's coming
consumable.
back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like
It's got to be a consumable then. Yeah,
the
for sure.
cabbages that can be traps or caltrops or something like that
Yeah.
is too fun to not have as a thing that just like you're looting through, you're scrounging through this like old dusty chest you find in a ruin. You're like, of course we found more cabbages in here. Of course we did. Well, at least we have
Yeah.
them now.
Yeah.
um, perfect.
Awesome.
Other magic items
Yeah.
for the.
We can go deep in the lore here, but
I'm ready to
trying to
go. I
think.
mean, you'll have to walk me through some of the deep lore because it's been a while since I've seen it.
Well,
So
it's even just like joke lore too. Like there's an episode where they're bargaining for equipment, and Aang is like, "All right, I'll buy it for you for like 1 copper piece or 2 copper pieces,"
yeah.
and having like the coins as like a bargaining element that can go really well or really poorly kind of
Oh,
thing,
I
you
love
know.
that.
Um,
A 1 copper piece.
like if you add this 1 copper piece to whatever you're bargaining, it immediately like shoots up in value, even though it's just like 1 copper piece.
Yeah,
It's like what?
massively increases your bargaining power when used is very, very good.
Yeah.
That's good. I love the 1 copper piece.
Yes.
Let's see here. Other magic items. Do we this feels like something that too can lean into some of the one of the ideas or themes you were talking about earlier, which is the idea of like connecting some of this to approaches.
Mm.
So like this could be one of the like those this could be like a skill or an ability that somebody has, but only if they have a certain amount of approaches. So like
Yeah.
if we wanted to like kind of lean into the idea of like you are either balancing out your approaches and or you are leaning in on one
Hmm.
style to like gain a great benefit, this could be a place to do that as well.
Yeah, I think what that we could kind of fold this into with the teamwork aspect,
Mm,
where like maybe if you have the same number of approaches, like the same stat and flow as someone else, then you get an adjacency bonus or something like that.
yes. Oh my god, I
Um,
love that.
and
Like
then it's this mini game of you're both trying to balance the
right,
same,
you're
like,
trying to figure out like, okay, I got to find a way to spend a point of
yeah,
flow
because
or
you're
whatever
you're on
because
3 and I'm on
right,
4, so
I gotta I gotta
if
go
we
do something
yeah.
reckless to spend this approach so that I can we can be on that same
Yeah,
page.
same wavelength right there.
If you yeah, if you have the same approach amount as an adjacent ally gain effect.
Yeah, gain
Absolutely.
effect. Yeah, I don't even know what that we would want that represented
Well, we
as a
could even think like
magic item, but
you could
yeah.
easily like copy this magic item like 3 times, one for
Hmm.
each approach, and it would have a different effect. Or like
Hmm.
we could even think about how how they would manifest as like different elemental bonuses as well. So like if we were to associate the approaches with certain elements, like to me like flow feels so perfect to go with water, but it could also
Hmm.
easily go with air too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
um but like it could like very simply be like if you have the same um flow as somebody next to you, then you both take like -1 harm ongoing because you are like
You're like
you're
kind of
knowing
weaving
how
in
to
and
like
out.
dodge
Yeah.
and like you're using each other's like instincts
Yeah,
to
I really
be.
like that.
And
Yeah.
then like the force could be like you're dealing additional harm because you are like hurling the big throws with each other right next
Yeah,
to each
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Absolutely. So like one for each approach would work really well with that. And then like you could also then do like if you have like an equal amount of all approaches, you gain something too, right? Like that could also
Hmm.
be sort of like in that
The
avatar
balance.
space of like,
Yeah.
okay, you aren't all in on force, but like you
Right.
understand that everything has its place or has its value
I
if
really like
depending on the
that too. Yeah.
context.
Yeah, really play with relative levels of stats, I
Yeah,
think would be fun.
same
Yeah.
amount for all of your approaches gain effect, right? So like
Mhm.
understanding like okay, my character might start with like way more force, but like that means I need to like kind of get that aggression out of me so that I'm like more balanced out with my state of focus and things like
Right,
that.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I love that.
That's
Cool.
good.
Yeah,
That
I think that's a good list for now.
that's a very good list. Um, okay, clothing, and then we've got maybe one or two
One or two
consumables as well.
consumables.
Yeah.
Okay. Clothing. Okay. Um, let's see.
So this is a place
Glasses.
where we typically like give people stats. So like
Mm-hmm.
this type of clothing is worn by this type of person, so they get more health or more armor or give more force.
Right.
Clothing can also have like charged effects and or narrative bonuses as well. So it could be like this, when you're wearing this, you can walk on water or whatever.
Sure.
Um, I also have seen examples of loot where the clothing has kind of some of the stuff that we were doing up above, where like if you, as long as you have 1 point of focus left, you gain this additional effect. So it's also
Yeah.
like the clothing encourages you to be at certain stat points as well. But I guess what we should be thinking about is like, is there iconic clothing or
That's
like
fun. Yeah. So
distinct?
the
Yeah.
yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when I saw the clothing section is Sokka's or like the water tribes like wolf helms. Like when they go
Ooh.
into battle, they all wear like the helmets that look like wolf heads.
Yeah.
And that could give you kind of like a pack mentality kind of bonus. Like as long
Yeah.
as you have, one force or something, you get this bonus of like I don't know if it's an adjacency bonus again or it's just like some kind of tactical like positioning kind of
Yeah,
thing. But yeah,
absolutely. A pack bonus, as long as you have X, gain Y sort of thing. 100%. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Um,
Other like distinct clothing. Like obviously all the like the nations
uh,
have their different like
there's the
types of clothing.
Kyoshi Warrior like face paint, right?
Yeah.
The white face paint with the red. I don't even know what you call that above your eyelids, but
I don't know. I
my
call it,
makeup
yeah.
terminology is terrible,
Yeah,
but
that's not my area
uh,
of expertise.
but yeah, that's also like can give you like an intimidation factor too, or
Ooh.
um, yeah, I think that like something like that would be neat.
I think an
Uh,
intimidation effect is very cool for that. So yeah, it's it's not giving you tons of armor, obviously, but what it's instead doing is your damage mitigation from this is the fact that people are terrified to fight you in the
right,
first
yeah,
place.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
or like when you go charging towards them, they're like, "Oh, I'm in trouble right
Yes, yeah,
now."
exactly.
Cool.
There's a joke clothing we could do,
Ooh,
which is in that same episode of The Copper Piece,
okay.
is I think Aang finds like a giant full plate suit of armor, and it's like the most like anime-esque suit of armor you could find, but
Mm-hmm.
like he can't move in it. So it's like one of those things like you boost up your armor rating so much that like your move rating is like abysmal or something.
Massive armor, basically can't move
Yeah.
in it. Uh, Very funny. I like that a lot.
That's a very joke loot there, but it's
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean these like bonus loot collections are absolutely meant to be like a little bit more tongue in cheek, a little bit more like we're clearly just like tipping our hat to things that we love about this,
Yeah.
and no part of this collection of loot is meant to be like the, oh yeah, this like fits the vibe or the like
Okay, good.
mechanical balance of what we're
All right,
going
I'm
for.
glad. Then there's hope for our Bluey comeback then.
Oh,
You
absolutely
know.
is hope for the Bluey collection because like Nathan was saying earlier, a wholesome loot collection might be
Yeah.
like really nice to
I
have.
I think it'd be great, yeah. Um,
Um, cool. I
no.
mean, this feels like a pretty good list of clothing.
I think it's yeah, a great start.
So like we have the cabbages, which just to me feels like such a golden
Yes.
consumable because they keep showing up everywhere. They will always be there. Anything else that feels like a something that would be like a quick boost or and again like with
Mm-hmm.
consumables they can have a mechanical component but they or even like a combat application, but they can also just be similar to like you might have an amulet that gives you dark vision all the time, but you might also then have a potion that you drink that temporarily gives you dark vision and stuff
Right,
like that.
right.
So like
Oh,
this could be another thing that like gives you uh, a temporary version of any of the stuff that we've talked about before. um, or just other like
Mm-hmm.
what are some like one and done. So like there is the like we have the candle where you are able to communicate with past lives, but like it would be interesting if there was a consumable that like puts you into the avatar state and like somehow that actually like
Yeah.
temporarily does something beyond the communication, but like you suddenly I don't know what it exactly
Yeah,
would
it's your
be.
your all out kind of thing. Yeah.
Like it certainly could be like a like it could be like a recovery tool and then also you have one big turn like because I feel like the avatar state
Mm-hmm.
kind of kicks in sometimes when like Aang is like in trouble and then like
You're
just suddenly like actually I'm not in trouble anymore
right.
and I'm very powerful
It could be one of those things where like you just get like um yeah, you like yeah, it's kind of that like fail safe. So like when you hit when you would be brought down to 0 health, right?
oh
You go
yeah
down to 1, but then also you can immediately act and do like X amount of actions
yeah
or something,
and
right?
then and
Uh,
then do a whole bunch of stuff
yeah.
yeah Uh, yeah, absolutely. I like that. So this consumable is automatically consumed when you reach 0. Instead, go back to 1 and then do take like 3 turns or something
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Uh, is very good.
Yeah, and then like you end with like all your approaches exhausted or
Yeah,
something like that,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, you're
Like
not
you're
like
you're you're at
suddenly
1 HP, but like you're still kind of screwed after
yeah,
this if no
but
one helps you. Yeah.
but you at least didn't go down, and then you also probably like swung the fight back
Yeah,
in
you
the
probably
king's
took some
favor.
baddies down with
Yeah,
you. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I like that. Um, let's see here. Anything else? I mean, we have the tea kettle, but I feel like there is like the concept of like the drinking of the tea all the
Yeah.
yeah,
I
like
mean, so when we were thinking talking about this and you mentioned the like tea kettles as consumables or tea as consumables, there's a game that I was playing for a while. It's called The Book of Travels, which is
mm-hmm.
like an indie, like it's kind of in development hell right now, but their whole magic based system is one is like it's not based. So like you tie knots and then you untie the knots to cast spells.
Oh, that's
This is totally
cool.
unrelated, but I thought that was cool. But then their like potion system is all teas. So like there is actually a tea in that game where you drink it and then you can see ghosts, or you drink
Oh.
it and then like you can like talk, you can hear people's thoughts or
Yeah.
like that kind of thing, which I thought was like really neat just to like have a tea-based potion economy.
That's really really
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Is that
it's very
a
vibe. Yeah.
is that an RPG that's being developed or is it a
Yeah, it's a they're marketing it as a tiny MMO.
okay.
So like it is a MMO RPG, but like the instances of the worlds are purposely locked so that you'll only see like 6 other people in the world.
Oh.
And so like it's to emphasize the whole like if you see someone, this is a rare once in a lifetime thing kind and
Yeah.
like you want to like work together and like swap stories and things
Oh, that's so
um
cool.
and they focus more it's like there's a combat portion that people play, but it's also like a lot of investigation and introspection and like you're really just like it's called Book of Travel. So you're really just traveling around like
Yeah.
collecting it's more like a kind of a cozy tiny MMO kind of
I'm like
vibe.
really
But
into that. That sounds
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a while. I need to boot it up again, because they've made some changes since I last played. But just that whole like vibe of like a tea-based potion
Yeah. It's
system, I
very
was like,
cool.
this is like very up my alley. Um,
I'm trying to think of other things that feel like little one and done things the characters have had or had access to. Like I'm also thinking about like what's the like the game that he played like the like with the tiles and everything. Like I forgot the
oh,
name.
the Pai Sho tiles. Yeah,
Yeah.
The White Lotus Pai Sho tile. That'd be
Like is
yeah.
that something that could be a
I think
consumable
it'd
of
be
some
kind of
kind?
cool. Like you can associate it with a faction like the White Lotus, and then if you
Mm.
use it, then like you can call in like look, someone from the faction's gonna help you out for this one thing, or
Yeah.
like
Call in a favor in certain circumstances.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of fun. Like you find this tile and you're maybe like not even sure what it like can
Yeah, we
do
just
at
show it to
first.
someone and someone's like, I got you. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
right. that's kind of the fun of it too. Where you're like, okay, we found this thing, but it like very specifically says like something along the lines of like, we'll open doors for you if you find the right door, and you're like, oh, we gotta find, we gotta figure out who to talk
Right, exactly.
to get this to get this to like do something for us.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun narrative
Yeah,
consumable. Yeah.
absolutely. This looks like an awesome list of Avatar
I'm
based
excited. Yeah,
loot.
and there's just more brewing in the back of my head that we could do. So
Perfect.
I love this start. Yeah,
This is an awesome start. I feel like this is a good stopping point for us. We got the like
it's
major
great.
elements that I think we wanted on the page here. Um, for folks who are watching, the goal with all of these is that I will eventually turn these into like actual loot cards that will go out as bonuses to everybody on Kickstarter. Again, just as like a hey, here are these fun other things that if you want to throw them into your world, like throw some Avatar into your world because
Yeah.
your world's gonna be better for it. Uh, Ethan, this was an absolute blast. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
and doing this.
I had a great. This was a great way to start my Sunday morning, Spencer. So thank you for having me.
Hell yeah. Is there anything that you want to like shout out or let folks know about or for finding your stuff online?
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely shouting out loot. Go fund it if you haven't.
Cool.
Go back it for sure. I'm working on a lot of games right now that are in playtesting season, so I'll be playtesting them heavily in October
Okay.
at Gen or not Gen Con, Gamehole Con and Big
Mm.
Bad Con. So if you're in at either of those, you can come find me and we can talk about that. Um, I'll be I'm working on a game with James Quigley called Prequel, which is I'm billing it as a tactical storytelling game of heroic sacrifice. I've talked to you about Prequel,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
this Luminesque game that we're bringing in some microscope elements,
Yeah.
so that you can. We were thinking like instead of just like a final fight similar to Hunt, let's make the entire game the final fight, but then do
Yes.
flashbacks to the quest that got them there. And so we incorporate some world building elements, and then based on your world building elements will help give you bonuses to like your approaches, which will feed into your powers. So
It's so good. It's such a
we're,
good idea.
yeah, we're very excited for it. We've been playtesting it, and we're planning on kickstarting that in February as part of Zine Month. So
Awesome.
yeah, that'll be the one game I will pitch for right now. Yeah,
Great. Are you gonna be at PAX?
I will not be at PAX.
Okay, good. All
No,
right, well, I
yeah,
won't see you.
you're gonna be at PAX?
I'll
Sounds
be at
like.
PAX. I'll be at
Okay,
PAX. I'm unfortunately won't be at Gamehole or Big Bad, although I want to
no
make
worries.
sure I'm at both of those next year. They're on the top of my list of getting myself
Yeah,
to.
Gamehole
So
is really close to where you are, so
yeah,
even
I'd
if
be
you want to
crazy
just
for
make
me
the
not
drive
to.
up, yeah.
Yeah,
I hear a lot of great things about PAX. I want to make it out there sometime, but
it's my favorite. I
yeah,
love it. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much, Ethan, again, and thanks to everybody who's watching this either live or watching it later in the VOD. If you're watching this later and you want to know more about loot and all that, the links will be in the description. You can find Ethan in the description and all that sort of stuff. And we'll talk to you later. I've got a whole bunch more of these, Kevin. So I don't remember
yeah,
when the next one is, but it's probably tomorrow or very soon.
I'm excited.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody, and we'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.